Hey there, folks. Welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art, and culture. And today we're going to be talking about the newest album from Miguel called War and Leisure. So, I have a hard time writing about an artist like Miguel, mostly because as a critic, I like categorization, finding a way to place an act in context of their genre or of history. And while he may have been able to do that early on with records like Kaleidoscope Dream, in that like acts like Frank Ocean or The Weeknd or How to Dress Well, he was digging into new sounds and tones within R&B in order to expand the genre or even go beyond it. But their paths diverge very quickly. The Weeknd harnessed his love of 80s pop to attain crossover success. Frank Ocean found a ramshackle yet powerfully organic and spacious sound to win a lot of critical acclaim, especially last year with Blonde. And Miguel, well, in 2015 he released Wild Heart, an album that I definitely praised upon its release for its genre-bending and grand emotive ambition in capturing a specific Prince-inspired, oversexed, hyper-stylized, almost melodramatic mood, but it was also kind of all over the place, and it hasn't exactly aged as well as you might think or remember, feeling less and less cohesive in its tangled blur of sounds, and without a lot of tighter writing in order to back it up, which was a problem. I definitely argue it's a good album, and I really did love how far Miguel was willing to push his material and his genre, but in the wake of Frank Ocean's Blonde, it was an album where the high points might resonate, but the weaknesses in contrast glare all the more strongly through. And as such, I didn't really know where he was going to take his follow-up this year, War and Leisure. Reportedly he was trending more towards psychedelic funk, but he also had names like J. Cole, Travis Scott, and Rick Ross on his features. It looked to me like he was going to be a slightly more grounded affair here, which might not be a bad thing, because Miguel's a sort of artist with effortless charisma who can knock that sort of material out in his sleep and out of the park to boot. So yeah, I definitely wanted to cover this album. So what did I find on War and Leisure? So okay, here's the thing. With every single listen through this album, I get the impression that there was a great deal more focus on the second word in that title than anything else, for a more languid, relaxed, loose affair than Wild Heart was. And on the surface, again, doesn't exactly seem like a bad thing. Miguel is a natural fit for this sort of material. His sound does feel slightly more cohesive as a whole this time around, and there's nothing wrong with a more lightweight album, even if you could make the argument it probably should have been dropped in early August instead of early December, just along with the rest of the summer albums. It would have been a great fit there. And yet, I found myself not quite as gripped by this album as I want to be. It is good, but I was hoping for greatness, and it just doesn't quite coalesce here. And that's really frustrating for me, because Miguel, he's an incredibly compelling performer as a singer. I've said this before, but where so many R&B adjacent acts in the mainstream right now, they might make songs about sex, but Miguel, he actually makes it seem like he's enjoying sex and wants you to enjoy it too. That sort of infectious charisma and atmosphere can make up for a lot. Hell, it's often the biggest reason why he can tread into some cornier territory with some of his lyrics and get away with a lot of it. I've already talked about him Luke Skywalking on the haters on Skywalker on Billboard Breakdown, but the best example of his sheer joy comes through in the previous song, Pineapple Skies. Sure, it's a song that loosely interpolates sexual healing from Marvin Gaye, but it's one of the few songs that can capture the same magnetism as the original while still feeling fresh and defiantly its own thing. It's easily the best song on this album. Of course, a lot of this all will depend on the production and the instrumentation in order to support that loose, supple feel and capture that sense of vibrant fun, and it's where I feel a little bit torn on this album as a whole. Now, one thing I will give the best songs on Wild Heart is a sense of momentum and propulsion, tighter grooves, crescendos, tracks like Coffee that, yeah, they had a slow burn, but a solid anchor point behind them. War and Leisure, though, it plays things a little bit more languid and relaxed, except of course for songs like Banana Clip and Told You So, which are clearly channeling a lot of their Prince influence in the 80s inspired synth funk and bass grooves, but the rest of the album, more content to just ease back in a smoky mix punctuated by psychedelic guitar tones and slightly rougher drums around the bassy rumbles that punctuate the mix. And you know what? This can turn out pretty decently. I like the darker lounge 3/4 cadence behind Wolf. Some of the smolderous City of Angels does build well. I dig the liquid touches of guitar and the keening depths of the Closer Now, and the gentle acoustic loop playing off the rounded bass and deeper tap on Come Through and Chill. that was pretty relaxed, pretty good. Even if I'm a little bit mixed on J. Cole's verse, they'll say as he comes across as ashamed, too desperate to win this girl's attention while being in town for her, and still manages to cram in some political references rather awkwardly. It didn't quite fit in that second verse of his. But you know what? I really do appreciate a lot of the organic depth of these songs, even if I do feel some of them can run together or get kind of lost in their own smolder or feel a little bit melodically undercooked. Now, part of this is a production issue. For as clear and potent as Miguel can be as a singer, I'm a little bit baffled why so many songs choose not to place him center stage right at the front, instead pulling him a little bit deeper into the murk than they probably should. Childish Gambino got this right, and Miguel strangely doesn't. And while Travis Scott might need auto-tune or added vocal effects, Miguel certainly doesn't here, and they show up more often than they should. And it doesn't help the issue of momentum, or the feeling that the tones don't really take on the same intensity or spark or even darkness that characterizes some of the best parts of Wild Heart, or in the cases of the pitch shifting on Harem or Told You So, or even some of the more rubbery synth tones. They feel like modern concessions that can be a little bit distracting to the overall song and just not all that appealing. But as I said in the Wild Heart review, the real point of contention that I've always had with Miguel is his content and lyrics. And for this record, the bar is not very high. The majority of these songs are hookup jams drenched in psychedelic fuzz, and I got a pretty high tolerance for things starting to get a little bit silly, especially for Miguel. And man alive, he is pushing it even then. Right from the opening song, he compares his own instability to that of Columbine as he hunts for a girl to match him in that. And a few songs later on Banana Clip, he brings in more imagery of war and guns and missiles and an arsenal that is 90% phallic symbol. Then we get to Wolf, which plays the werewolf as dude on the prowl metaphor, and while Miguel can sell it a little bit better than, say, Adam Levine on Animals, it is just as ridiculous. Let's get real here, even though I do mostly like that song. But it's a weird part about this album. It wants to evoke apocalyptic imagery and war and some darkness and greater drama, and cast his love stories in their shadow to make some sort of point, which doesn't really play out all that well in Told You So, which plays as a skull saying that he indeed told her so. Or on City of Angels, where in a hypothetical future where LA is destroyed by bombs, he was off cheating on his girl at Venice Beach. But then you place this all in the juxtaposition with songs around it like Harem, an undercooked invitation for a prospective girl to join him there, or Caramelo Duro, which is your standard Sex and Candy song, about half of it's in Spanish, and the connective tissue behind any larger theme on this album just feels kind of thin. And you know what, that would be fine. This is intended to be a looser, more fun album, except that when you bookend the record with Now, a song that's pretty explicit in targeting the current president and the political administration with broad strokes that don't really add up to beyond pleas for common ground that we're probably not gonna get. Yeah, it's potent, sure, but it's coming after a song where Miguel's girl makes him feel like a god after they're having sex. It can feel a little bit disjointed. You get some tonal whiplash there. But no, what this record reminds me of a lot in its tones and content is psychedelic soul, or maybe a rock record from the mid to late 60s. Political in some of its reference points, but ultimately more loose and scattershot, and ultimately more focused on getting high and making love and getting laid. And again, there is definitely a place for that sort of content, and Miguel does a hell of a job making it sound pretty damn appealing, no matter how goofy some of the lyrics can be. But at the same time, again, despite good vibes, I'm not really drawn to these hooks or compositions as much as I want to be. And not even Miguel can make some of these references and lyrics sound that cool. So yeah, as much as I would love to be on board with this, for me, I'm kind of lukewarm. It's a strong 6 out of 10, and really only recommended if you're just looking for something just to coast on. Bathed in retro cool, but pretty damn short on substance. But hey, if Miguel was able to lighten things up a little bit, tighten things up, or inject his lyrics with a little bit more wit or bite, he could have something special here to go against the likes of Frank Ocean or Anderson .Paak. He's certainly got the charisma for it, so going forward, I guess we'll see. But hey, if you're curious, what the hell, check it out. It's pretty fun. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. I'd like to like and subscribe. I'd be more than grateful. Folks, I know I want to like this more too, but hey, the content just wasn't there, and some of these lyrics really are pretty damn silly. I didn't even get through half of them. But hey, if you want to actually buy the record, the link's in the description below, and I got the poll up there for all you to tell me how wrong I am about this album. Beyond that, anything else I might be able to do to improve my presentation, I'm all ears. If you guys want to support this channel or get involved in my scheduling process, link to my Patreon is right over there, where 3 times a week you guys get to vote on my channel, and once a week for the higher tier contributors, you guys get to add albums, movies, or even a top 10 list to that schedule. More details right there, but until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.